Welcome to the Wunderkammer, the place where you will find all the needed objects in order to discover yourself. But be careful, this cabinet of curiosities will uncover things you never wanted to see unveiled. This room will open the abyss of darkness for you. You will see how this darkness will lead you to the light you were searching for all this time. Wunderkammer is excited to be your guide to that light.
Part of every favorable depiction of a billionaire is this idea that they have earned their success and their wealth. The most compelling stories are those of billionaires who, through sheer hard work and grit, so we're told, have conquered the American dream and made a better life for themselves, those around them, and our society as a whole.
Hello there. I wanted to share something that I wrote regarding the question, what is value? We always make a very subconscious assumption that desire depends from value. We constantly think that value is something that exists independently from desire. We value so many things in our everyday life that we don't know that we value and why. This is exactly the problem. Why? Because value cannot exist independently from desire. Desire is what we want, and so it's logical that we would value what we want. And the funniest part is that we value everything that we subconsciously want. Let me give you a really funny example. A lot of women who grew up in unhealthy environments with emotionally unavailable caregivers say that they want someone who treats them respectfully, but actually value men who are emotionally unavailable. Why? Because their wound of the trauma that is being treated like they're invisible and their realities don't exist is not yet healed. And so they will value men who are emotionally unavailable until they heal their traumatic scars. So with this, I'm going to take you to a realization that we need to understand if we want to develop further as a human consciousness. We need to be aware of what we desire if we want to know what we value. Why is this important? To answer this, I'm going to give you a really dangerous example. If we wanted to stop war, we could have. Everyone on this planet knows that war is not needed. So as humanity, in one day, we can decide to destroy all the nuclear equipment and not to use it anymore. So why is this not happening? Because war is obviously needed by someone and therefore valued. So war is valued. This is exactly the example of how dangerous it is to subconsciously value things, because it can have a lot of serious consequences, and those consequences are already happening. I also want to mention that I found a really interesting example by Teals 1.
Little 8-year-old girl is in a gymnastics class and is able to do a double backflip in front of the class. When she does this, the coach says, "Good job," and invites the next girl under the floor. This little girl, who's also 8 years old, does a cartwheel, and the class, as well as coach, erupts into clapping and praise. The child, who is clearly excellent and clearly the best in class, cannot believe she is not good enough because it is clear that is not reality. It isn't possible to gaslight herself in this scenario. The reality is that she is the best in class and she is excellent, and so that can mean only one thing, that they don't actually see her, which makes her feel like she's living life behind a pane of glass and no one can see in. She begins to believe that if she could just make them see her, she would receive the acknowledgement and recognition that makes sense for reality. The trauma here is that life is a gaslight, where the people who are obviously not boastingly much more excellent are getting no recognition of that fact. This is actually the most powerless position you can end up in, much more powerless than a child who simply is raised to believe that they're never good enough. Because there's nowhere to go. There's no room for improvement. If you are already the best, already performing better than everyone else, there is no possible way that you can do anything more to end up at the results you want, which is for people to recognize your excellence. There's literally nothing you can do. What this little girl cannot see is the desires of the other people in this class. Think about this for a moment. Most adults, if they're honest, want kids that are cute. Now, when a child is a hyper performer, meaning that they perform things that they shouldn't be able to perform at their particular age, is it cute? Or is it a little bit unsettling? So obviously, if the coach wants a cute kid, and believe me, there are plenty of coaches who operate with little children that don't actually want the excellence of the child. What they're really after is how cute it is for a kid to be really focusing hard and dedicating themselves. And what do the kids want? Kids want someone they can connect with and someone that they can play with. When a child that's in their social group excels so far beyond the rest of the social group, it's difficult for children, number one, to feel good about themselves, and two, to relate to that child. The opportunity to really be on an equal playing field and connected to that child isn't there. So naturally, the classmates are going to react way better to the kid that they can feel good about themselves because they can encourage that other child, and the kid who is obviously struggling so they can relate to it.
In this example, I want to highlight one of the many subconscious values we have right now, which is the value of seeing people trying so hard to achieve something. This isn't the problem. The problem lies in the fact that we value that element much more than we realize, and we value it much more than we value the excellence that people have. If we could see and recognize the value of excellence and connect with it, everyone would have their own role and place in the society. It's an old-fashioned method to work hard just to be seen and recognized, but it does not function anymore. We subconsciously hate people who are excellent because they're superior to us. And what does our ego hate the most? That is, being inferior. With this said, value is a really powerful element of this society. In fact, that is the most important aspect of businesses right now. The most evident example is the current food industry. It produces destructive food because that's what we desire, and therefore that's what we value. If we valued organic and healthy food, the food industry will drastically change and orient towards that desire, because that's what we will automatically value. I would also like to mention a really interesting observation. In Naruto, the main protagonist is more valued because he's not as excellent as Sasuke, and because the desire to see someone trying hard is much more present than to see someone excellent, indicates that Naruto was being more valued, while Sasuke was all alone and left alone because of the fact that he was so excellent that he intimidated everyone. And therefore, no one was truly there for him. Why? Because everyone was afraid to be inferior. This show, from a psychological perspective, is a pretty accurate reflection of the situation of society today. The trying people are praised, while the excellent overlooked, and that makes this world a really hard one to live in, doesn't it? With this being claimed, I do not want to make an enemy of hard work and effort, but quite the contrary, we need to value excellence as much as we value hard work. Both are valid. We seem to think that some humans are stupid and some are smart. This is a claim with which I will never agree. It's time to understand that humans are much more intelligent than we see, because the subconscious is the most intelligent, most fascinating form of consciousness to ever exist. In fact, stupidity is a brilliant way to cope with life, because it's also a way to remain ignorant. And the most humorous part of it all is that we all do this even without knowing. Being ignorant prevents you from seeing any light while passively dying, and the subconscious, which is genius and excellent in this role, always knows how to do exactly that, prevent us from seeing the light. Take a look at your values and approve them. Every value has its own inherent meaning and therefore a why. Approving your values and directly seeing them is the only way you can access power of knowing what you want and what you need. And with that, you will have the real picture of what you value, along with what is valued on the world and what is not. And with this, you will have the power to choose. And that's a power that no one, absolutely no one, can take away from you. I will end this essay with Nietzsche. In what strange simplification and falsification man lives, one can never cease wondering when once one has got eyes for beholding this marvel, how we have made everything around us clear and free and easy and simple, how we have been able to give our senses a passport to everything superficial, our thoughts, a godlike desire for wanton pranks and wrong inferences, how from the beginning we have contrived to retain our ignorance in order to enjoy an almost inconceivable freedom, thoughtlessness, impudence, hardiness, and gaiety, in order to enjoy life. And only on this solidified, granite-like foundation of ignorance could knowledge rear itself hitherto. The will to knowledge on the foundation of a far more powerful will, the will to ignorance, to the uncertain, to the untrue. Did you like the visit in the Wunderkammer? If you did, please like, subscribe, and share this content if you see it as helpful. Did you also notice the artworks in this video? They're not put accidentally. If you want to understand my philosophical reasons of why I put them in the video, you can become a crow on Patreon. In that tier, I'm posting the paintings and the contacts they have in the video. You can also see them like Easter eggs. But only crows can see through the messages, because they are messengers themselves. I would like you to support me on Patreon, because I need financial aid for conducting research and research projects with various institutions as well. I also have playlists on Spotify under my name, Katerina Lunas, if you need something to trigger and enhance your emotional experience. I also created a Facebook page where we can all gather together and share everything that comes to heart. Can you hear the footsteps? They're the footsteps of illusion. It's coming. But what are you going to do about it? Accept it or do something about it?